Hello and welcome to the New Mindset Podcast. My name is Jacob.
My name's Georgia.
I hope you're all going well and enjoying your weekend, wherever you're at. We're on a Sunday at the moment. Sunny Sunday in Brisbane.
Sunday Arvo.
Yeah, Arvo. Going really Australian.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon. Today we've got our first ever guest. Penn, one of my siblings, one of my many. How many have I got now? We got
3.
Penn, Luke, and Marky.
Yeah.
So that's 4 makes me. Cool. Well, how your day, guys? Georgia, you go first.
Yeah, day was really good. Started off at the dog beach with little Winnie and my sister. So that was fun. Feeling refreshed, feeling great, feeling alive. Happy to have Penn here. Woohoo! Hey, Penn.
I'm all right. You know, I did my transportation from the hood where I live. You know, took 2 hours to get here, so I hope I'm being treated with much respect and honour.
We hope that we're doing that.
As I deserve.
Much respect and honour. That takes me back to you and I, Georgia, have been watching that Japanese movie. What's it called?
Shogun.
Hopefully
I'm pronouncing that right.
No, it is right.
Oh, okay.
But that's been an awesome show if anyone wants something to watch. But that just took me back, Penn, when you said honour.
Honour.
There's a lot of honour and a lot of seppuku in that show.
Yes.
But today we haven't even introduced a topic. Have I even said how my day's going?
No, you haven't. Please
no
do
one's
so.
asked me.
How was your day, Jacob?
Yeah, my day has been good.
Good to know.
So
Moving on. Joking.
So you and Em took Winnie off to the dog beach for sunrise.
Yeah.
While I slept in and got up and did some posts and things like that. Did a bit of a clean, not really. Read a bit of a book, not really. And just chilled. And then you guys came back and Penn's over and you've been drawing some Mindset Minis characters for us. So that's coming out soon, which I'm very excited for. But I should introduce the topic.
Yeah.
So finally, we're going to be talking about Inside Out 2 today. I've seen it twice. George has seen it once, and Penn's seen it once with... Penn's seen it twice, I lie. So once with me and once with somebody else, don't know who. But yeah, I reckon you two should kick us off with what's the movie actually about for someone who saw it a month ago and may have forgot like me. What's it about?
Yeah, like a few plot points, I guess. So, spoilers alert, just putting that out there too. There are a few plot points that Riley covered. So basically we've grown up a little bit with her. We see that she's super into her hockey, her ice hockey that she does. Joy's taking the wheel, taking the control and having a nice interaction between anger, disgust, fear, sadness about her first hockey game. But then she goes to sleep and she wakes up and she's hit puberty, which means she has some new emotions. So those new emotions are envy, embarrassment, anxiety, and ennui, which is boredom for anyone that doesn't know. I didn't. Now I do. And basically, Penn, the things that I kind of thought were the big plot points for someone who might just want to re-jog their memory is one being puberty and how these new emotions relate and interact with each other. The friends moving away, which is super sad, and sadness kind of comes in, takes the wheel there. And as well as, I guess, the whole setting of the movie is at their sports camp, their 3 days hockey sport camp that they're doing at this high school, and how Riley is navigating doing really well at sport, trying to make new connections, trying to enjoy this last camp with her friends before they move away. Those are kinds of the big things that Riley, as the human, is challenging. Yes? Having challenges?
That's accurate, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. What do you think about, that's, I guess, Riley's plot point. What do you reckon about the emotions? Like, how are they interacting inside her head?
I think it definitely hits the whole puberty point where it's chaotic and just the whole red sirens going around was pretty accurate. I mean, I don't have any red sirens in my head, but, the whole chaoticness of it all. I think the movie's more focused on her friends as well. Like, the first movie was more family focused.
Yeah.
I Yeah, just you see the family island way away while the friendship islands are really at the front.
Yeah. And that's like a proper carnival. Friend Island.
So yeah, that's pretty accurate, yeah.
Yeah. And there's also, I guess, a bit of a dynamic between joy and anxiety as well.
Yeah.
Like who's taking the reins there?
Fighting for the front. I think Joy also said something where she's like, oh, I know how to let people take their role now, with how she learnt that from Sadness in the first movie. But she's still really kind of like getting irritated with anxiety being at the front kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge. We're using 2 mics at the moment, but that was really cool. That was a good, what would you call it, synopsis?
Yeah, synopsis. Overview.
Yeah. Overview.
Good team.
That was good. Penn's first podcast experience. Done. Cool. But that was really cool. I like that. You sort of discussed that there was a few new emotions.
Yeah.
The 4 of them. Could we touch on... I'll touch on it first. Anxiety. It's like... Anxiety was obviously one of the main characters in this movie. It was more so like anxiety and joy. And anxiety, specifically the panic attack scene that Riley experienced while at ice hockey. Now, I wanted to sort of touch on that, but Penn will come at it from a different angle, and even Georgia with your experience with panic attacks. You'll come at it too. And I thought it was done really well. I'll probably speak about when they were inside Riley's brain, and you just saw anxiety like wrapping, like, you know, going a million miles an hour in the head, and she was going so fast that it wasn't even moving. Like, it was that fast, you know, like helicopter blades.
Yeah.
You can't even see it.
Yeah, you just see that they're really slowly moving, but they're actually moving at really top speed.
Like, that really resonated. It was like, you know, going so fast but so slow, all in the one moment. And the line that nearly gets me every time I see it, and like the tears swell.
Are you getting teary?
Not now, but I was. It was, you know, when anxiety looks up at joy, and it's just like, I was just trying to help. And it was like, you know, anxiety.
I was just trying to protect her.
I was just trying to protect her. That was it. And yeah, you know, anxiety is not there to harm us. It's there to seriously look after us. It's just when it gets out of hand, when it dictates too much and controls our lives, that's when there is an issue. But probably I'll get Penn in it probably as well to jump on the back of that panic attack scene. Yeah, because I think that was a pivotal moment, and you picked up a few things, Penn. And the first time you watched it, it took me twice to pick it up. So you're doing good. Let's hear it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can I do the internal family systems thing, or is that going to take too long?
No, go for it. Yeah.
Well, with the inside the mind still, with anxiety refusing to let go, almost feeling like she couldn't let go of Riley. And this is what really put me in that mindset. Joy telling anxiety, you have to let her go. You can't control Riley's life. That really reminded me of a technique in therapy I learnt called internal family systems, where it's pretty much like Inside Out. You've got all your different parts and they're in control of you. And sometimes you really have to kind of take a breather and talk to them in your mind, like close your eyes, visualize a space to talk to them, and just ask them to take a step back so you can take the reins. Because sometimes what they're doing, they might think is helping, and it's a valid way to feel, but it might actually be interrupting your life. Like, maybe you're anxious about an exam, and that anxiety is stopping you from studying, that kind of thing. So Joy telling anxiety to take a step back that really just reminded me of that technique. But with the actual panic attack on the outside with Riley, one thing I noticed, which is another therapy technique, was the 5 senses kind of thing, where I think it's 5 things you can feel, 4 things you can see, etc. kind of thing. One of the things was Riley, when she was trying to calm down, she's sitting on the bench when she's been kind of put on the bench from hockey, and she's feeling the wood of the bench that she's sitting on, and then it pans to show the light that she's seeing come from the hockey building, and then distantly you can hear the muffled laughing and voices of the other people playing on the rink. And I don't think they did any kind of smell or taste. But those were like 3 senses, and it just remind me of that technique to try ground yourself from a panic attack. Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I like that they alluded to that, and it's not so like that's techniques that anyone and everyone can use. Like it's really cool that you learned that in therapy, and here we have this human being, although animated human being, but a human being using those techniques in every day. Like I really love that. That's really groovy.
Yeah, I think having an interest in both my own therapy and also just psychology in general, it's really cool to pick apart all the different kind of things they did with that. And yeah, it was just really cool analysing it and taking notes. I just remember after the movie, me and Jacob just sat in the car talking all about it.
Yeah. No, I love being able to use an experience like this to connect. There's individuals like yourselves who have really experienced those panic attacks, and like other people that are probably listening. But also, I loved the first few scenes that we had with anxiety, where that was like just that. I don't want to come across as weird, but how are you going? And when it came out weird, or when a dialogue came out weird with a different tone of voice, like that's an experience of feeling anxious that is not the extreme of having a panic attack. Like I think sometimes there's the negative notion of anxiety is just the panic attacks. And it's like, no. Like we can just have these little spurts of anxiety here and there.
Yeah, Jacob again. No, that was really cool. I like that wrap up. I also love the little like throw to anxiety right at the start when anxiety walks in with all the bags as like, I'm here with all my baggage.
Where can I put my stuff?
Yeah. But yeah, it was really cool as well. They brought like, I don't know if you introduced it earlier, but like, embarrassment.
We touched on them. We haven't spoken too much about them in depth.
No. So like embarrassment came with anxiety, and so did envy and
ennui.
But I think that they were like the perfect combo of emotions to be anxiety's sort of sidekicks.
Confidence.
Yeah. I think that was good. That was the panic attack. But how old do you reckon Riley is? Just about to go to college and things like that, hey?
Like high school?
High school, but just about to go to college, like she was...
No. She's like she's going from middle school to high school. 13.
13, Penn said.
Thanks,
Jeez.
Penn.
So how old's Penn?
Well, that's like the start of...
17.
That's the start of puberty. Like that's when the average girl, if not even younger in Australia, it's like, 12, 11, young girls. Sometimes, as young as 10 or 9.
Jeez.
But yeah, Riley's 13, so just on the cusp of puberty and all
Those
the
some complex
fabulous
emotions.
things it brings along.
Complex emotions to feel at 9.
Yeah.
But I'll probably touch on, I want you guys to have a chat about like how accurate these emotions were for Riley at that stage of life. Like for me, I think anxiety was definitely prevalent for me. Bit of embarrassment, obviously, that comes with like, the social anxiety sort of aspect. But yeah, like what did you guys relate with most? I suppose like, how accurate were these emotions?
Yeah, I reckon that probably envy and embarrassment can be some of the ones that I would experience and see more of at that particular stage in life, because you're starting to prioritize your social connections and your social relationships. Like what you said, Penn, like Friendship Island was just booming with all lights and colour, which means that we also have a little bit of embarrassment, or there's higher stakes if we were to take an action and feel a little bit embarrassed about it. And envy is our whole comparisonitis. I'm not sure if we've done a podcast episode on that, but I'd love to. But envy is always comparing about, she has this, or why am I not the best on the hockey team? That kind of little inner voice can almost be, we could almost even say that envy could be our little inner critic or something, like that kind of angle. That was just a thought right in that moment. So those are the two that I personally would have experienced more at that particular 13-year-old stage of my life. What about you, Penn?
I think also embarrassment
Yeah.
and anxiety as well. Embarrassment was a huge thing for me. I think later on when we talk about the sense of self and core beliefs, that was also, I had the exact same moment as Riley with having trouble with her loyalty to her friends.
Yeah.
So I think embarrassment and anxiety were a huge factor in mine, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And I love that you want to talk about the belief system and sense of self, because one of the things that I really loved that they did in this movie was how they actually illustrated something that is not real or
Not
no.
physical?
Yes, sorry, it's totally real. Our sense of self is so valid. But yeah, the visual depiction of something that's what did you say?
Not physical?
There we go.
That's all good.
What did you like about it in terms of those two things specifically, or if there were other things that you liked too that were represented?
I think just the major effect it had on Riley's life, because again, like I said, the loyalty to her friends, when it was kind of breaking apart, I think they were tugging on the sense of self. Anxiety was trying to remove it. And Riley was looking between the cool high school kids and her middle school friends. And she just couldn't choose where she was supposed to go. I think, like I said, that's a thing I had in high school as well, trying to figure out who your groups are. So I think the sense of self, I loved seeing how much of an effect it had on her, because that was who Riley is. You know?
Yeah. Do you reckon that you would have been able to pick your sense of self at that age?
I think that's like the whole
'Cause
point.
it's
It's
tough.
like it's still developing.
Yeah.
You know? You're turning into an adult now.
Yeah.
That's you figuring out and building your sense of self. And I think they kind of acted like it was complete at that age. They were acting like their sense of self, they built it and completed it at 13. But I think the teenage years, when you're turning into an adult, would be the major time of figuring out who you are, kind of thing.
No, that's so true. I loved with the sense of self that it was something that all of these strings of her belief system were attached to, and the more that they were in a certain color or certain memory that was connected to it, the stronger this particular sense of self was. I loved that the memories were were planted in the stream of consciousness, and then a string shot up, and then you could twing the string, and then the belief from that memory came through. I just loved that particular scene. That was so beautiful to me.
Yeah, that was true. I really like that too. I actually, I agree with what Penn was saying with, the sense of self is constantly changing. So I think a sense of self can be built at 13, but it is also able to vary and change and shapeshift like it did. So anxiety was really taking over those negative emotions at one point, but they nipped it in the butt quickly, and it was able to, and it gave that that variety of emotions. Like it went from just all joy to all anxiety and negative, and now we found that healthy balance
Of both.
of both. And what do you reckon of that?
Yeah, no, I really like it. I think that it was, all of the joyful emotions that created the first sense of self. No, I take that back. I reckon that there was definitely the visual of joy and sadness and disgust and fear and what was the last emotion? Anger. Thank you, Penn. All of them kind of creating their own belief or having their own influence in the belief system to create their sense of self.
Just to quickly add, another thing with the sense of self is they kept picking and choosing what emotions and memories they wanted to put in there. So I think Joy at the beginning at the movie, she showed this machine where they can just chuck the memories they don't want in the back of the brain.
Yeah.
And that had a huge effect later on in the movie where their escape to the front office, I guess.
Yeah, the
front
main
office.
big database.
Yeah, was riding the wave of the memories they'd thrown away back to the main area. And you see how all these memories they chucked away are building all these strands to create a new sense of self.
Yes.
So that's just all Riley. It's not just all the good parts of Riley. It's not the bad parts of Riley. It's all of her.
Yeah.
And so, especially when it was showing that shifting sense of self where it's like, I'm a good person, I'm a bad person, I'm a good friend, I'm good at hockey, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was all those emotions creating the full Riley.
Yeah. And I think that too is such a good summary of what we kind of like spoke about earlier with how Riley doesn't have control over... Sorry, not Riley doesn't have control. Joy doesn't have control over Riley. Like the whole stream of all of those forgotten memories or intentionally forgotten memories are all a part of who she is.
Yeah, I really like that. I completely forgot about.
So did I. That was such a good part.
Yeah. Like I remember your only complaint about the movie was it was too short, but I'm struggling
Honestly,
to
yeah.
even remember everything. They just packed everything in.
Yeah.
I'm happy that we covered that. Did you guys have anything else on that?
No.
All good.
I just want to say the reason that it wasn't so short was only because I loved it so much.
Yeah.
Not from a bad perspective of I wanted more because it was so good.
There'll be another one.
Yeah.
I think, all right, cool. Well, I know what my favourite moment was. I'll say it now while you guys think of yours. Mine was, I think I've already mentioned, anxiety at the end, wanting to just protect Riley. And the realisation that, it takes more than anxiety to do so. That was my big favourite moment. But my biggest favourite moment was sarcasm. Sarcasm. I love that.
That was good.
I'm a little bit sarcastic, or very sarcastic.
We would so greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. How good was it? That was just so clever.
Yeah.
No, that was my favourite moment. What was yours, Georgia?
Okay, does it have to be about the actual plot or anything?
Anything.
Okay, can I pick two?
Yep.
Okay. Really quickly, I loved what we spoke about before, the actual visual depiction of something that is not physical, like something that's in Riley's mind, like the belief system, like the sense of self, like just seeing how that is visually created. Like, they're so creative. The other part that I really, really loved was something I forgot. Come back to me.
All right, well, I'll give you a moment. I think a lot of my favourite parts were just the ones where Riley was struggling the most, just because I related to it so much as a teenager. I think one of the moments was... I've lost mine as well. No, I think, again, with the Riley trying to struggle between her two new friend groups. And also another one was when she was fighting against anxiety's instructions, where she was waking up in the middle of the night to go to the office to retrieve the hockey book.
Yes.
See her place on the team if she was ready. And I think an interesting thing, even though her sense of self was destroyed by then, she was still fighting against anxiety, showing that anxiety and our emotions, our parts, can't fully take control of our identity. So anxiety's like, oh, come on, why isn't she moving? You gotta move those feet, Riley. And Riley hesitated, but then eventually, with enough pushing, she went and searched for the hockey book kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I love that. That was so cool. I loved what you said before about the anxiety and the thoughts running through her mind. I loved, again, it's kind of like a visual depiction of something that we can't see, but the racing thoughts that would happen for someone that's experiencing some high levels of anxiety, seeing the imagination and the dream workers be the drawers of the arts, and they're like submitting, yes, so this is a catastrophe that could happen, and this is the worst case scenario, and then anxiety is instructing them, no, we need every option, we need the worst options, what could possibly happen? And then Joy coming in, her little one picture inspiring those imagination people to be, oh, well, we don't have to think about all of the most anxious thoughts, we can actually create some positive thoughts and feelings, and then this flood of positive potentialities. I'm going to be a Wordsworth there. And then seeing it change Riley's state in her sleep, like she actually could settle and she could go to sleep. being like, oh, okay, I am going to have great friends and I am really good at hockey. That was one of my favourite parts.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that again. The illustrations.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things I actually took away was from that scene when I found out, I don't think of myself as a very creative person, but anyone with anxiety, if they can think up, 50 potential dangers all in the space of, a few seconds, how can you not be creative?
Yeah.
And just like we saw how creative they were in that moment, there were just a vast, of potential outcomes, a vast majority of potential outcomes that were just, created instantly. And that's what someone with anxiety feels. Like, that's why we get so overwhelmed and, compulsive with it, because it's like, how could you not? If you're thinking all of these things potentially could happen or are going to happen, that's where the attacks can start. Because, we don't even know what we're afraid of. We don't know what's coming, but we know something's coming, but maybe nothing is. So if you get what I mean.
Crazy.
But why do you reckon, I'll just put this into one question, but why do you reckon families and like young adults and even younger kids can all relate to this one movie? I think, just quickly, I'll say before you guys jump on, is it's just such a relatable movie for anyone, because we all feel these emotions, some more than others. But, to have anxiety, as its own character is just so cool, because anxiety, we haven't been able to put a face to it or a body or a person, but now we've even the other day when I was a little bit anxious, I think at the shopping centre, when we were getting my wedding suit, just quickly, there was bloody a few panic attacks in there. But, just I could sort of visualise my anxiety a little bit more through seeing this movie, which was really cool for the first time. Yeah.
I like that.
What do you reckon?
My thing that I think people will, enjoy is actually seeing, or for young people to see how our beliefs are created through our memories. And I like the message that comes across to say, look, all of your memories are going to influence your sense of self, your belief system. All of it's connected. You can't ignore stuff and highlight others. Just like even if you have an experience or a memory or something that you want to suppress and you don't want to work through, it's going to infiltrate its way somehow. So I just like that messaging behind it. I think that people will get a lot out of that.
I think for adults, there was a line by Joy that I thought would be really good for older audiences, where she's like, maybe as you grow up, you just become less happy or something like that. I think with the movie kind of disproving that at the end, where they're like, Riley wants you, Joy. I think for adults struggling with being happy could watch that movie and relate to the feeling of not being happy as you grow older, but learning you can still find happiness.
Yeah. You can still access that part of yourself.
Yeah, it's always there.
Yeah.
And as for more teenage audiences, I think the whole movie is just relatable for us.
Yeah, 100%.
I think looking back on parts of the movie with Riley being embarrassing or anxious, the whole time I was just like, I've done the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I think for adults, it's giving a more reassuring message, and for teenagers, it's mostly just given us some relatability.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that notion of relatability in both the teenagers and the young adults. So true.
Yeah, I love that. I've completely forgot again about that line of,
it was so beautiful.
Maybe joy ends when you're older or something along those lines.
You totally butchered that.
I butchered it, but it was
Penn nailed it.
Penn nailed it. You nailed it. But I also related from a sporting perspective, because, the movie was based around her hockey experience.
Of course you do.
No, just, the negative voice.
Joking.
The negative voice of what was the negative voice again? What was that?
Envy?
You're not good enough.
Oh, no,
You're not good enough,
that
you're not
belief.
good enough. You would hear that constantly. I heard that constantly anyway, even when I was out there playing, and it's just, you're fighting that while trying to remember technique, and then, you're in the situation. So it's so hard, but once you're able to get out of that, you're not good enough, it's you feel unstoppable.
And it's crazy how that belief or that sense. No, that was a sense of self, wasn't it? It was like a summary, of all the other beliefs that came from anxiety wanting to protect and help her. Like, and when we saw those beliefs being planted in the stream and anxiety twinged it, it was like, oh, okay, that's not a bad belief. Like, sure, they'll like us if we, oh no, that's a bad one. They'll like us if we fit in. We don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, though? Like, when you twing it, it doesn't seem as bad, but when that compounds and piles up, then it's like, I'm not enough.
Yeah.
And I just cry.
Yeah.
So, not great.
No, it was not ideal. But it was, I felt, very similar. Not so much like you're not good enough, but it's like you're going to make a mistake. You're going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
You're going to make a mistake. And then when the mistake came, as it always does, it was like, I told you so. So it's like, anxiety is never wrong.
Yeah.
Like, how can anxiety be wrong if it's illustrating all these different angles and things of what could go wrong, and things go wrong in life. So as soon as it goes wrong, it's like, told you so. You have to listen to me. And that's where it can sort of grab control of one's life.
Crazy.
But, Penn's got something to say. You put your hand up. Let's hear it.
Please.
Another thing was I felt like it showed that kind of feeling where you think you're doing something good out of anxiety, but it's actually harmful to you. Where she was getting up really early and practicing, and anxiety was like, we're not leaving this rink until we score a goal. Like, we have to be that perfect every time.
Yes.
And they just kept going at it for hours. Riley was sweating and she was tired, but she just felt like she had to be the best. She had to be perfect. And I just felt like, I think I spoke to Jacob where he felt that could be good for you because it builds up your skill, but it's harmful overall. It's burnout, you know?
Yeah.
Anxiety thinks that she's getting Riley to perfect her technique, but she's just putting all this physical and emotional pressure on her that's going to affect her later in the day if that tiredness catches up with her.
Yeah. And we are so much more than just our emotions and our things. Like, we are, bodies, and we need to make sure that we take care of ourselves with nutrients and that kind of thing.
Nutrients. Nutrients. But no, I reckon, Penn was spot on. Like, anxiety can be a superpower if you harness it correctly. But obviously, in that situation, anxiety was just ruling and dictating, and exhaustion was only going to follow that. But what was like the biggest takeaway? If you could have one thing to take away from the movie, what would it be, Georgia?
I'm going to see if I can steal Penn's. Sorry. Or I don't know if this is what you're going to say anyway. The notion of you can access joy, like, at any stage. It just takes a conscious effort. And sometimes we don't know that it is joy that we want or need until we're almost like a little bit, in Riley's case, it was a bit, far gone. Whereas if she was able to access joy sooner, which we know from the movie, she physically wasn't able to access joy because she was in the back of the brain. But if we can make that conscious effort to be able to access her and bring that little spark to life, that would be beautiful. So that was my big thing. That was the question, wasn't it? Yeah, great.
Well, I'm probably taking Jacob's, but sorry. But anxiety not being a bad emotion.
Yeah.
He just
He just slammed his head.
So I think especially when you're with someone like a therapist, they'll always tell you that the negative emotions you're feeling aren't bad.
Yeah.
They're not actually negative. They're not a bad thing for you to feel. And anxiety,
feelings.
like Jacob mentioned earlier, where she was like, I thought I was just keeping her safe. I thought I was just helping her.
Yeah.
And anxiety really is just planning for the future, like she said. She thought she was helping Riley by keeping her safe, finding her support system, her friends in her new high school. Just anxiety not being a bad thing. It just needs to be harnessed correctly.
Yeah.
Or have that balance.
Yeah.
You did take one. No, so I reckon another one for me then would be you can use anxiety to your own benefit. Like I said before, if you can use it as a superpower, you sort of saw them do that toward the end where they sat anxiety in the special chair.
I love the special chair.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, you're going to sit here for now and relax and take a back foot step while we look at it. And when we need you, you can time in. Like, when they, anxiety knew all about the test that was coming up that they had all forgotten about. But anxiety kept Riley, that's at the forefront of your mind. Like, we got a test coming up, so let's just keep that there because we got to study for it. But we're not. And then they put her in the chair. So that was for me like, you're there and we're not going to shun you, but you just need a little bit of extra support sometimes.
Well, you said even the other day that you actually used that visual, like you put your anxiety in the chair.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, I love it, but not right now.
Yeah, just like, ease up. We don't need you right now.
Yeah.
And I think, if someone can, if a child can learn that from an early age, and, it's much easier than having to break a bad habit when you're in your 20s. Like I've had it for how long now? But, you sort of build up these habits, these bad habits and good habits. And to be able to... Sorry, George just gave me a real weird yawning face.
I was yawning. I wasn't trying to make a noise.
But yeah, I just love that. And I'm keen to watch the movie again.
For a third time.
Yeah, for a third time.
For me, second.
But any other pointers? Oh, Penn's got another one. Hold on.
Go for Penn.
I was just wondering if we could do funny moments, like moments we found kind of
Oh,
funny.
yeah. Love it. Go for it. Kick us off.
I really liked the part in the car where Disgust is analysing her friends' faces.
Yes.
And they're keeping that secret about going to a different high school. And it keeps switching between the two different Disgusts. They're like, it's much more than that.
Yeah.
And they're like, she knows. You know? Oh, and the friend in the middle, they spilled the tea. They're like, we spilled the tea. And then they're like, okay, we're moving to a different high school. I'm going to tell you.
I love it. I love that.
So I really like that bit.
There's they're little moments that are sprinkled in that just make the whole movie so good.
Well, I love the dad's perspective, when they were like, hold on, we got to keep what's going on now, because the dad just was so out of touch with what was happening. And he was like on the sport channel. Yeah. And it was like, hold on, Code Red, what's going on? Yeah. And it was like, and then he just had to make something up because he didn't know. And I found that relatable as a guy, because sometimes I can switch off a little bit, or my mates can as well, when it's like, wait, what's actually going on? Yeah. Did you have any funny moments? I
don't know. I'm trying to think of other things. I mean, sarcasm was pretty good. Like the actual speaking over and through it. That was pretty good. I really loved the dynamic between envy and anxiety. I thought that was cool. And I loved
nostalgia.
Oh, nostalgia. She was so cheeky and cute. I have to say, the one thing that I've loved as an aftermath of Inside Out 2 has been all the memes of anxiety realizing that Joy is in the imagination chairs. And then, Joy, I know you're in there. There's been quite a few memes come out that I've found funny.
Memes. Any other funny moments?
That's all I can think of.
I haven't got any.
No.
Oh, Penn's got one.
Penn's got another.
It's actually not a funny moment. It's a completely different
it's
thing
sad?
about Inside Out. No, it's just well, about sadness, actually. I liked how she worked with embarrassment, but I think another part of Joy's development with handling sadness was when sadness wanted to cry in the car, they wait, they hold her back, and then when they get out, they're like, all right, and they let her go, and they're like, she needed this kind of thing. Oh, yeah. They let sadness cry for a bit once she got out of the car. I thought that was cool. Really nice.
I love that. Yeah. I wouldn't have even, I completely forgot. Beautiful.
That's been good. That has been good. Penn, you got some bloody good angles.
Yeah.
That was cool. Like,
go Penn.
You were just thinking of things that
Penn's got another one. Angle.
Right, last one. Then on to my checkout question, because I'm keen to hear what you guys reckon.
I just wanted to know if you guys saw like the emotions they had created, the artists had created the emotions that didn't get put in the movie.
No, I hadn't seen them. Yeah,
I saw some where they're like suspicion, and I thought suspicion could have taken the part with disgust where they're like analysing the faces.
Yes.
Another one was, it was something where it had like a bag attached to it, and it was kind of like emotional guilt. It was guilt.
Oh,
and they had emotional baggage attached to their character.
That's cool. I like that.
I just thought that was really cool. So if you get the chance, check out the different characters they created.
Give it a Google. That's cool. I'm going to do that as soon as we finish.
That is cool. I reckon that might be like their next... You and I were talking about, George, the other night of like how many more emotions could they bring in. Well, nostalgia will come in eventually.
About 20, 50.
Yeah, have we got some nostalgia
years.
now? 20? 25? I reckon I've got a few nostalgia moments.
I reckon.
No, that's been cool. I like that. Maybe every movie review Penn can come on. Or even get you involved in any other ones, because that's been awesome.
Yeah.
But this is your first checkout question. So I'll answer this first so you guys can have a good think about it.
Beautiful.
But if you could be any animal in the zoo, what would that be? Now, George, don't give me a weird face, because you gave me a bad question last week about which kitchen appliance would you be.
I loved my kitchen appliance question.
So
I thought it was great.
All right, the animal that I would be... I'm going to take George's here, I reckon. No, I'll leave yours.
Okay.
Because you'll go panda. I'm going to say polar bear. I love the polar bear at, I think it's SeaWorld. The polar bear gets like this massive space. He gets fed all the time. He's got his own water there, and then he's got a day bed and the rocks. And it just looks like, he's just loving life on his own. He gets to chill out. I love that. And everyone just like loves a polar bear, because how often do we get to see a bloody polar bear in Australia?
Yeah,
it was
true.
like, that thing's huge and cool, because you get to go underneath as well.
Yeah.
And see him in the water, and then you get to go above water.
Yeah.
I reckon, I'm going to guess, Penn's going to go the foxes, George is going to go the panda. But let's hear George's.
Look, I was going to say my very first one would be giraffe. Only because they're so tall. It's a unique perspective on life. You get to poke your tongue out at people all day. It's great, and be fed, and I like that. But as soon as you said panda, I was like, I'd probably like a panda. Only because you get to roll around, and you get to go on swings and fall down and be cuddled, and it's great. You just eat bamboo all day.
Mine would be the red panda, because, it's not foxes. I went to Australia Zoo, I think, half a year ago. I just saw the red panda just laying on this tree, just arms out, belly on the tree branch, and I'm just like, I want that. I just want to rest there, have some people gawk at me. I think you get cuddles as well. I think the red pandas get cuddles.
Oh.
So I would do the red panda.
You're cool. I love that.
Well, it's nice to know that you do a red panda. Georgia,
This is a family-friendly
It is a
podcast.
family-friendly podcast. I just wanted to say that George and I went out for lunch the other day, and first robot restaurant ever.
Oh, why are we bringing this up?
We went out to our first robot restaurant ever, and, we're at the front, ordering our food, and all of a sudden George is tumbling. I'm like, what are you doing? And then there's this little robot that George has nearly killed in front of everyone in the restaurant.
I nearly ran over the red bot.
The little robot just trying to do its thing and deliver people food, and you're just trying to take this thing out of existence already.
Yeah, I didn't want it there, apparently.
No, he killed the thing.
Yeah.
But no, that's
Forgive
awesome.
me.
That was a really cool episode. Thank you both for coming. Penn for making the 2-hour
Thanks,
trek.
Penn, for making the crazy trip.
A 2-hour trek out from what's like in Lion King, the dark place. What's that called?
I don't know.
What is that called?
I know the elephant graveyard.
The elephant graveyard. We'll call it the elephant graveyard. You came
there
from
you go.
being Logan. But no, thank you for coming out. Georgia, thank you for being here as always. And thank you for listening, everyone. We really enjoyed this episode, and we will release this on a Friday, and then we'll record another one soon. I don't know what it is, but we'll check in soon. Awesome. See you guys.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.